Hello everyone, this is Wolf, and today we are back for more Space Engineers. Today I'm going to finish off the last few things that the miner here needs, as well as continue to allow its batteries to charge, and I am going to build a grinding pit in this area, along with removing the assembler, which will require me to create an assembler elsewhere, and moving this cargo container. So first things first, I need to check on my cargo containers, check on my storage, all of that. So let's go to the large cargo containers. We've got one designated for gravel, one for ores. Let's make cargo container for our new CC cargo container. Okay. And then if we go here and we go CC, you can see that one of them is quite full. So since this one is going to be ores, it's going to be ores old. And the new one, container 3, is going to become ores new, or just ores. That'll allow me to very quickly move things around. So let's first go ores. Let's move everything out of the ores old one into the new one. You can see they both have substantial amounts of gravel. I'll need to sort the gravel out as well. This goes into the container CC here. And let's move out the cargo container CC here to clear that out. I'm not concerned about storage space at the moment. Now, let's transfer all of this stuff over here to the new CC container, right? Now this one is empty, which is okay. I'm going to leave it in place, but I do need to disable its conveyors connection. So you do that by going in here and see how it has inventory screen, show on HUD. Apparently it doesn't have the conveyor option anymore. That's okay. Next I'm going to go to the assembler. Let's first go in here and remove the extra CC and the ores so we can clear them from our cluttering up the screen. All right. Next, I'm going to turn the assembler off, and to break its conveyor access to that refinery by doing so. All right. Now, this refinery still is drawing and processing everything, so I'm going to quickly switch it off. Right. Restore its conveyor access just for a second. And dump everything into the ores. Then disable the assembler again. I'm doing this so that way I can just very quickly and effectively disable all of this without causing myself too much grief. Now here in the corner I've got a battery that's pretty good shape. I've got an empty small cargo container I can grind away. All right. Up here, I've got a cargo container with some credits. Well, isn't there room in the CC cargo container? This cargo container can go away. This one has all my tools and weapons and stuff in it. So I'm going to grab all of this. For grinding that down. And I've got even more in here. So let's go first CC. Let's dump everything in this cargo container into our CC cargo container, as well as all those extra weapons and everything else that I've just grabbed from grinding down those cargo containers. And then this cargo container can go away. All right. I'm also going to remove the modules and the refinery here. I won't need them anymore. I will need to leave the cargo container and this conveyor line. All right, and I'll need to leave the O2H2 generator and the survival kit for the moment. Now, as you see, that dropped a bunch of stuff on the ground. That wasn't supposed to do that. Must have been filled up from its access to the refinery. So let's go to CC. Let's clear out all of this. Come on. The game's just being a little stubborn with me right now. I need the nickel. Let's dump it in there. 100,000 nickel. That's a good place to be perfectly honest. Oh, and all the iron that I'm gathering up. I'll need to go through and clear out all the iron and silicon and everything. This is going to take a few moments. Got nearly 1 million iron just in the ores container, not including what's in others. Now you might be concerned, but wait, you disconnected your... It's got batteries on it, it will power all of that. Okay? But with the refinery turned off, all of this is now separate from the grid. Now, this is not an attachment point. These are not actually touching the cargo container. Meaning, there's no grid. There's no power to this particular part of the grid except for what's on the miner. That's okay. It's going to stay like that until I'm finished removing the refinery. Which will take just a short while longer. Now, the refinery takes a huge amount of materials, so this will take a few moments. In worst case scenario, the engines on this should be able to lift all this, but it's attached in voxel, so I'm not going to worry about it at all. Now, to prevent this from disconnecting from the grid and to reconnect it to the grid, all I'm going to do, switch to 4. Okay? Put scaffolding like that, and as you'll see, we're now back online. Simple, easy, very, very little effort. To complete this particular space, I'm going to put some more blocks in there and weld them up. That battery, I'm now going to set to discharge. I don't need it there anymore, and it's probably best that it completely discharge. Now, time for me to go take a look at my cargo setup. That I'm slightly worried about. Well, that was an interesting rendering of the voxel there. It looked like it was going to smash into the spike sticking out of the ground. Alright. This is the one labeled as ores. This is the one labeled as CC, so it can go there. And this is the one labeled as gravel. So let's do a quick little switcheroo of these two resources. And let's fill hydrogen bottles real fast. All right. Now, downstairs, I expanded on this particular area last time in an effort to put another refinery in. I don't believe that will be necessary. Refineries are doing just fine. They're keeping up with and churning through the stone very quickly and efficiently. So I don't think it'll be necessary for me to put more refineries in just yet. Maybe when I start processing some stuff that takes longer, then it'll be a concern, but as you can see, it's hovering around 60 to 61k in terms of stone, and is slowly rising, but it's carving through it pretty quickly. So that is good. I need, however, to move the O2H2 generator and the survival kit so I can move them out of that space. So I'm going to put them attached to here. Let's just do a quick little bit more sorting, move those over. Now, for the cargo container. Oh, sorry. I'm going to need to go here to O2H2 and O2H2 generator. And this one, it will have conveyor system. Leave it on. Toggle the block off. All right. I'm going to dump all the bottles in the CC cargo container, which is nowhere near full. So which is why I filled my hydrogen out beforehand. Now we go to ores, dump this in with the rest of the ice, and let's look at survival kit. What's in this one? Just some stone? Put that in a refinery. Okay. Survival kit. Conveyor system off. Turning the lock off. Alright, now if I die, I am... It is bad if I die right now. So I better not die by flying into the ramp. That's okay. Just gonna fly along here, very carefully fly along the super long tunnel. Zoom, zoom, zoom. And going to move both of these now. Okay. Also going to move a bit of this stuff as well. Leave that like that because I'll start the grinder pit off of it. So fly all the way back down. This does mean, however, I'm at a bit of a predicament because my nearest conveyor access to the hangar is right here for the moment. It'll be quick enough and easy enough for me to solve that. Now, I'm going to need an O2H2 generator and a survival kit. Come on. Now, the O2H2 generator, might as well keep things simple. Have it come off the side of that and go into the survival kit like this. Now we'll have a survival kit that's attached in two places with power and an O2H2 generator that is piped into it. Just like that. We are sorted. And as to be expected, it filled itself up on hydrogen without filling itself up in bottles. So oxygen bottles go at the top, followed by hydrogen bottles. Just keeps things nice and simply organized. And as you can see right here, I left plenty of room for me to put more bottles into it when it comes time for me to do so. Now, grabbing a little bit extra because that needed to be done. And then I'm recharging and grabbing a little bit more hydrogen. Sorry about that, everyone. Here's my neighbor decided to drive by in his super loud car. I'm gonna close my window, even though it's a beautiful day. I'm laid up in bed, so I'm just gonna close the window and yeah, make annoyed faces at my neighbors. All right. Now, the grinder pit. There are a couple different schools of thought on how a grinder pit can be designed. If you look at Splitsy's Survival Maybe series, he uses at least 3 different designs. I'm going with something a bit more traditional in a sense to a grinder pit, but still very uniquely me. So I'm going to draw the entrance of the space here, like so. Now that does mean I just disconnected that battery, but, or maybe I didn't. No, I didn't, because the battery's still hooked up that way. So the battery's still discharging into part of the grid here. Keep those lights on. But that will be back to normal here in just a moment. All right. And I'll remove this one as well, in order to put the half block, which is on 5 now, not the normal wheel. I'm still getting used to that change. I'm not sure why they made it. I mean, it does make sense on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's just got so used to it being the other way around. Slope is not the block I needed. Like so. Weld those up. And this will define our space. So the opening is going to be from here down to here and across. That's the opening to the grinder pit. So I'll jump ahead to when I have the opening drawn out and have moved on to the drilling out stage. Alright, and there we are. This is now going to be the outline of our grinder pit. So to start with, this conveyor tube, I'm going to get rid of it. This junction I'm going to leave there, and I'm going to put a slope in. Probably the easiest way, and the one that will be the least messy, will be just to use, even though it'll look slightly weird, the next continuation of the armor block here. And if I keep pushing the wrong button, even though there will be that overhanging lip there, I think it will solve some of the issues I'm foreseeing. So let's go and place that and drill a little more stone out here. So I did this with my mining ship, and I very stupidly did the typical disconnect with the batteries on recharge, and fortunately it's tough enough to actually take that hit, so that's definite plus. Now, the reason why I'm putting a lip like this around the perimeter here is to allow things to hit the side and just slide right back down. So I don't know, and this is part of why this is also a little bit of an experiment, if the previously reported issue of blocks moving so fast in the grinders they're passing all the way through other armor blocks is still occurring. With that in mind, I'm actually going to be very careful about how much stone I remove in order to keep as much voxel there as possible. Hopefully it won't lead to random bits and pieces flying around too randomly, but let's go and add a little slope there. And I'm going to try to keep as much of the actual grinders inside the voxel as possible. I think that'll solve some of the foreseeable issues, though. Let's weld that up. I may tweak that corner up a bit. So the whole design here is to allow pieces to have some space to bounce around and fall back into the grinders so they can be picked up with the collectors that are built into the grinders. There we go. So, like that. And then in the corners, I'll place another armor block in order to start the conveyor system. Might as well actually just start the conveyor system underneath it. There. Now, let's take a look at the grinder itself. Each of the different industrial tool blocks has conveyors on them, but they don't all have conveyors on all four sides. So the grinder has 3 total conveyors, 1 on the bottom, 1 on either side. The welder is in the same boat. The drill is the only one that's lucky enough to have conveyors on all sides. So what that does mean, however, is that I'm going to have to build along this edge underneath the slopes here all the different conveyor blocks that these will be anchoring to, which is fine. Now, put that right there, and we put a conveyor junction right there, and I'll just continue the conveyors off of that. Now I place my grinders with the conveyor ports, continuing that way. Really, it's not going to let me place it. I have the steel plate. I guess it has to be completely clear of voxel. That's a new change, at least new to me. Last time I built a grinding pit, I was able to embed it in the voxel without any issues. Alright, that changes the plan. I'll have to put a layer of armor plate underneath all of this. So, let's do half block, because I am starting to get slightly worried about resource expenditures in this project. So, I'll jump ahead until when Alright, and there's our grinding pit. So I placed the grinders, and I double checked that while off camera. Just wanted to make sure they would be able to go in. Not my first rodeo when it comes to thinking I've got everything set up and then it just doesn't work. Alright, now welding these up is going to be a bit tricky, as it's going to take a fair amount of materials to get them all welded up. So I'm going to jump ahead yet again until that is done, and the welding pit is the grinding pit, not the welding pit, and the grinding pit is operational. Alright, and now we are all welded up. I decided that I wanted to make a few tweaks on how this looked, and it does expose more of the voxel, but I think at the end of the day that will actually help more than hurt. Now, the next thing I wanted to do, make sure my batteries are on recharge this time. Pull forward a bit. See if I can get the camera to cooperate. There we go. Third person. Let's see if this opening is large enough for me to comfortably fly in. I may need to move that light. I need to comfortably fly in without smashing into the ceiling, with a decent amount of... Are you going to let me... Decent amount of leeway for me to fly in here, not scrape along the top, and to drop something. So I designed this to be large enough to hold a drifting pursuant. It seems that it's large enough to do just that. So mission accomplished. I'm not too worried about things flying out, because if they are, I can just grind them down. But now that I've got that designed, do very carefully, Doc. Ugh. Love how the magnets just grab you sometimes. Oh, you can also, if you, now this is a bit of a troll, but if you really wanted to mess with somebody, go in here and set the strength to just a ridiculous level, so that way when someone tries to disconnect from it, let's say this is a station, this is a ship, and you set the one on the station-based connector to this ridiculous level, when they try to move away from it, they won't be able to, unless they turn their connector off. But most people are going to fly into a rage before they figure that out. So I think this space is large enough. I'm not too worried about that light. And is our battery discharged yet? Fully depleted in 3 minutes. Perfect. Make a small little change right here and add another armor block there in order to connect all that up. Now, to build the door, that's going to be a bit more interesting. But I think I could do some greebling around here to make this look pretty. So I don't necessarily like just the lone little pedestal sticking out. I wanted to try something a little bit more intentional. Alright, let's look at what I can do with these blocks. I mean, these are easy enough to create a larger space with. Let's try. Don't really want to create huge pedestals though. The more I think about it, the more I'm going to have to expose more of the rock, which I'm not opposed to, but I don't think I'm quite there yet. I think I'll need to have to just live with this look. Oops, let's get the right block this time. I'm just going to have to learn to live with this look for a little while longer. At least until I get some more permanent lighting set up for the space. Oh, so now that there's that, switch to our spectator cam. Our lovely box. I know I said I wouldn't do this, but for a grinder pit, it's very industrial and it's very much necessary to do something like that. Here's a completely unobstructed view of what it actually is going to look like. And you can just imagine dropping something on top of that and then turning the grinders on and just having them grind away. So I'm probably going to have to clear out most of the space that is currently being occupied by these racks. So, because that is the space that I'm going to have to take the door out to. And that's just tricky. And that is just tricky. I think those are touching, so that's not going to vanish now. I mean, no matter how I do it, I'm going to have to... The ceiling here is roughly equal to, or roughly level with the ground out here. I don't want to destroy too much ice, so most of this area is going to become the entrance. I think, yeah. I think what I'll do is I'll just have to drill out by hand. Of course I could use my new ship, but drilling out by hand is the only surefire way to make sure I don't mess up anything. With that said, I'm going to remove this stuff because it's now in the way. I don't really need to have the base sealed anymore. And I've got some gravel that I dumped out here a while ago. I saw a bit of scrap metal. I think I'll go around and pick up some stuff by hand. Do a little bit of housekeeping that way. And then I think that's going to be it for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. This has been Wolf.